Hey guys, we're gonna try this again. Unfortunately, Chris Greer and Tom Garfinkel shut us down because they knew what was coming. But thanks for rejoining us. If you didn't hear, we were on for about 3 minutes. Disregard that first 3 minutes of that episode. I don't know what happened. We had a technical difficulties, but we're back. We're here. We're ready to dissect this 24 season. Put a bow on it, like we said at the top of the show. I'll reintroduce the guys. Um, Bobby Schaus from the Dive Bar Podcast. My man, Vinny. Kenny, 1896 Vice on X. Not my day here. Guys, take over the show, please. How are you doing?
Dude, right now, I'm sitting here looking at George like, he's rattled. How would he respond?
I'm rattled, dude.
He's rattled. How would he respond? Got the
that crowd noise is high right now.
Yeah, the stadium, stadium pulse.
Stadium pulse is.
I'm worse than Tannehill in the pocket. I'm worse than Tannehill in the pocket right now, bro.
It's kind of fitting. It's kind of fitting with this episode because neither us or the Dolphins can perform when it matters. This time of year is just not for us. I guess that's what I don't even know what to do in my head right now.
I don't know what happened.
Front.
That cold front, yeah.
Oh, all right. So where were we? The general thoughts on the season. I guess Kenny, you went. Bobby, or
no? Bobby was going.
Yeah, Bobby. I don't remember. That was. I'm trying to forget those last 10 minutes of my life. Whoever of you two guys want to go ahead.
I'll go real quick. Just kind of cliff notes.
Let's get it back on the tracks here.
Look, no matter how you look at, because I'm sure we'll break it all down into every little question, but no matter how you look at this year, it's a disappointment. I mean, it was playoff win or nothing. We all agreed with that when the season started. His playoff win had to be in the cards. And regardless of who got hurt and who wasn't there and however it all fell out, I really don't care to get into that. Regardless, we didn't win a playoff game. Nothing changed. They decided that was good enough to keep everybody on board. Well, almost everybody. We've had a couple fallouts since. We'll talk about that. So, yeah, disappointment all in all, but, this is Dolphins football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Just the same old thoughts along with Bobby, definitely a disappointing season. There was a lot of hype going into that season, man. I remember going into that Bills game, second game of the season on a Thursday night. Pound Stadium was buzzing. And, to look back, it really feels like it was only like a few weeks ago. But to look back at like the hype that was behind that game and, the energy that was behind it, and to not only like end in a loss, but to lose Tua for that long again with the same exact, concussion issues. It was just, you could kind of tell the season was kind of felt like it wasn't going to live up to expectations again. So ever since then, there's been some highs. I think after that Rams game, I think I was a bit on a high, despite all the, devastating losses against like the Colts, Cardinals, and the Bills. But yeah, we retained everybody. We made it close at the end, retained everybody for the most part. But yeah, I mean, it feels like we're doing another cycle of the same old thing for next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. And I think the thing is, when I look back at the season, the identity. I think we could say the offense disappointed us. The defense exceeded our expectations. But I got some thoughts on maybe why the defense did. I think it has a lot to do more with the opponents we played than the overall defense. But to me, when it comes back to it, is the identity of the offense completely changed this year, right? We went from, we just look at the numbers. The 23 season, first in total offense. This year, we're 18th. Passing offense, first last year. This year, 15th. Rushing offense, 6th in 23. 21st this year. Scoring offense, second last year. This year, 22nd. And you can't tell me those drastic numbers. That's a big gap. Can't just be because of Tua's injuries, right? I mean, where's this going here? Do we want it somewhere in the middle of the ball control we saw this year, plus the big plays? I mean, can you guys? I'm struggling to find out what really to put my finger on the drastic change in the offense. Kenny, do you kind of? What are your thoughts on the identity really of this team and where it's headed and this kind of offensive change, philosophy change this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at the beginning of the season was pretty cool to see, or not see, because we really didn't see it the first week or against the Bills game. But I guess I guess it was a little better to just kind of see him dice teams around. Like you could see that we could have long sustained drives and not just waiting on the big play to happen. And if the big play wasn't there, we kind of go 3 and out, leave the defense out to dry, things like that. I thought it was very promising for the most part until we kind of saw like, okay, we're not getting the explosive plays anymore, really at all. And it's taking us a lot longer to go down in drives. And, I think I liked it at first. Now having like a 2020 vision, like looking back at it, I think a lot of things have to change. They got to figure out how they're able to run the ball. You got to start with the offensive line, and they got to play that big boy football at the end of the season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You got to play physical. Watching that Ravens team, man, like couldn't see how we get around that team even if we snuck into the playoffs. So, I think a lot of things have to change. We'll see how the defense does as well, but yeah, those are like my beginning thoughts with the offense.
Yeah. The running game, another thing that went downhill. I said they went and ranked like 6 to 22 this year. Is it as simple as the offensive line or the running backs or Robert Hunt's loss? I mean, really, if you look at the statistics, Austin Jackson's loss, I know people don't want to hear this, really affected the rushing attack. That's another thing. And especially, I mean, you guys both know how many times were there 4 and 5 man boxes they saw. Teams were welcoming them to run the football. I mean, are Leon Eichenberg and Robert Jones that bad? Was Austin Jackson, that much of a difference maker? Running game wise, do you have any thoughts maybe why the running game dropped off, Bobby?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to talent. Like, you don't have the guys to move people. You don't have the guys to move people. I was hoping, and I mean, we got it. Like Kenny was saying, when Tua went down the first time, I said, the only silver lining of all of this can be the stretch should be decent to easy. And hopefully McDaniel learns that he has to learn on the run game, lean on the run game, and hopefully he learns that this is a good thing to do. And when Tua comes back, he'll have a run game for himself. And we did. We went to the run game. We were running it down people's throat. And it could have been the competition, sure. But nonetheless, we'd line up and run the ball 14 times straight and score touchdowns. It was insane. So, man, I was like, man, Tua's going to come back. We're going to have a run game. We're not going to have to overcompensate. We're going to be able to just, be methodical and do what we do. And, man, I don't know. He came back and it kind of worked for a couple games. And, yeah, I hate to point to it, but Austin Jackson went out. And maybe it's not just Austin Jackson, but that was definitely like the last straw. So whatever little bit was holding together, when Austin Jackson went down and Armstead's just losing steam every week, he's just managing the knee. And, I think that was just the last straw.
Kenny, any thoughts on the running game?
Yeah, same things along with Bobby, man. I think the Bills game was like the best collective game by the offense, run game and the passing game. But we just didn't really see it after that, and, like how Bobby said, a lot had to be attributed because of, AJ going down, and that puts more stress on the interior of the line, which didn't really perform, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame the running backs at all. It's just kind of tough when you already got 2 people in the backfield trying to tackle you, and you got to make people miss. And that's why we saw a lot of the screen game, and as much as we hate it, maybe McDaniel really was just playing around the offensive line, and he had no other option because when we tried to, I mean, there's no excuses for running a toss on a 3rd and short, and they know it's coming, but maybe it is like we just can't run through the interior. We can't play that gap scheme, man. So, it's rough.
What was that college?
Did I miss a joke?
No, run. No, just the 31 top. What was that college game that said, "Oh, McDaniel must be"? Who's that?
Oh, that was Texas. Right?
Yeah.
It was Texas. Like,
yeah.
It looked so bad when I watched it with them. Like, do we really do that? Do we really do that? I mean, look, you make a good point. Maybe Mike, knew that, hey, we can't get it. Like all this screen stuff, all that stuff is because all that stuff is because you can't run the ball. That's all.
No,
just
absolutely.
Like that's
all.
An
extension.
Those are like 4 or 5 yard runs. You know what I mean? That's basically what he's doing. So you can't blame it all on, this is where it goes up to the general manager, and some of his comments we'll get to, as far as he, was giving praise to the 2023 line, but you didn't bring back the 2023 line. You lost Robert Hunt. I didn't get that whole thing, but we'll get into that. So, that's basically, I agree with you guys. And on the defensive side of the ball, look, there were some positives. Chopped second half. Sealer without Wilkins proved that he was the top dog, elevating himself. Jordan Brooks, I thought was fantastic this year. What about you? And Anthony Weaver. I was curious to see Weave. He did, because he did have a chance at D coordinator with Houston, right? And it wasn't that great of a season. Yeah, and I always look at when the Ravens hire somebody else internally, promote somebody else instead of him, kind of raises an eyebrow. But I thought we proved to be good in the defense. Look, they did give up, especially that Arizona game and that Buffalo game. I thought the defense kind of gave away at the end there, and those were two big games when you look back on it. But what are you guys' thoughts on the defense this year? Kenny, go ahead.
Yeah, defense looked good. I do think the opponent had to do a bit with it, like especially that Colts game. I just saw AR miss like slants, high, like I remember Jalen Ramsey getting beat a few times and there's the ball just wasn't there, So, but I want to give him credit because I know for the most part, like the edge rushers weren't there this year. That D line, despite everything, Calais was on a snap count, but Sealer's that top dog, so. Essentially, it was just like Sealer or bust. If he didn't disrupt the play, it was kind of hard, or Calais to give them both their flowers. But like finding Jordan Brooks and his impact as well helped, and not only that, but just like developing. Unfortunately, it's the other side of the coin with David Long. That it didn't work out in this defense. I thought he was going to be a phenomenal pairing with Jordan Brooks, and it just didn't work out. Same thing with the safeties, it just didn't work out, man. I don't know what it is with Holland and Poyer. I don't know what it was this year. I don't know if it's scheme. I know Poyer's getting old, but I'm mostly talking about Holland. I don't know if it was injury, scheme, his heart's just not in it. Like, don't want to say that, but it kind of looked like it, And I like Jalen Ramsey's play, man. One thing about Jalen Ramsey, he may get beat, but man, his effort flying around the back end of that defense, man, it's amazing to watch, especially when you get to see it from up high. It's just insane how much he moves around the field, but. Anthony Weaver, man, just to finish it off, leader of men. I think he's a great character to have in the staff. It would suck to lose him. I would really love to have him for one more year. But yeah, despite everything, I was still impressed. They managed to hold everything down, despite its flaws, especially in the trenches.
We got the best behind the line of scrimmage passer in the league. He gets it done and stuff. TSG, shout out to everybody in the chat. Armando, TSG, Steve. Bobby, any thoughts on the defense this year?
Yeah, they deserve some credit. I mean, I was hard on the defense. Naturally, I had to kind of humble Ghost a couple of times just to keep him at bay because he got a little carried. Sometimes he gets carried away when his Twitter timeline agendas and what's real on the podcast. But it's all good. No, I think something is to be said for them as far as like. When Tua went down, they could have easily been like, dude, we're not coming out here and holding it down with no quarterback, no offense. Like, dude, that might have been their best stretch. Like, they averaged, they only gave up 18 points a game during that stretch. I thought that was impressive. I mean, obviously, it's not the hardest stretch of schedule, but it doesn't matter. Those guys could have laid down and quit. They showed up every week. They gave us a chance to be in those games with no offense. So they get credit for that. I think that down the stretch, I think that the depth really did cost them a lot. I feel like a lot of times they were playing good football, and then the second half would come around, especially in those big games with talented offenses, and they would get ran over, man. I feel like they'd fall apart in the fourth quarters a lot, and I think that had to do with the depth. I think that really
you got a fan, Kenny.
Shout out Steve.
Forget about us two,
And, I think that a lot of things had to do with the depth. To not have any edge rushers but a rookie, and to still produce some sacks. Steelers awesome. That was a big question mark. Can he be the guy without Wilkins next to him? I think he made Wilkins. I don't think it was the other way around now.
Yeah.
I really that's insane.
Yeah.
Steeler deserves all the credit. I mean, he's incredible. And man, I think I liked Tyrell Dotson at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think he really stepped up. he came in, had a good play the first week, and then he kind of looked rough against the Packers. Then they put Anthony Walker back in. But when he got to start the last 2 weeks of the year, I think he played his ass off, and he makes plays. I mean, he had 2 interceptions, and I mean, I'm down for bringing him back at a low cost, hopefully, this offseason. Keep him and Jordan Brooks together. I think that's a good tandem. And then really the draft, you just got to go get some dogs. I think they need a big dude like a Nolan or something, a defensive tackle, a Grant from Michigan, just a dog in the middle to go with Siller that doesn't need a snap count. Love Calais. If there was a world where he comes back, that's obviously needs to be considered. Obviously, I don't think you consider it. You just say, oh, you're going to come back? Okay, here you go. Sign right here. But, yeah, you probably need to beef up that front a little bit more and hopefully see where your edge rushers are rehab-wise. I'm assuming Chubb should be all the way back in if they keep him around because he was almost ready to play this season. And then Phillips, you're going to assume that he's going to be ready because he's just a freak.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so defense – a lot of credit given the circumstances. I'm a fan of Weaver. I think for once I'd love to see 2 years, get some continuity at that spot. And Jeff Darlington sold us all on Anthony Weaver. I think we all left that podcast thinking, holy shit, yeah, I'd like to keep this guy around.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he's one of those guys this turnaround. I think he'll be a top 2 or 3 finalist, but I don't think he quite gets a job. I think maybe the next year, and it's good for the Dolphins. You never know what happens because to me, this is setting up everybody. If this doesn't work out, all the trio's gone. Quarterback, and that's the one. I know we all hate that Greer came back, but to me, that's the one bright spot is that instead of doing the half-ass thing of firing the general manager, getting a Dennis Hickey type candidate because you're inheriting a coach. You're inheriting. You want your own, a quarterback. Now if you do it right and it either works out or it doesn't, you start clean house and you can get a hired director of player personnel or vice president, whatever you want to do, and they can make their decisions on the coach and on the quarterback. Look at Washington, man, and it's simple as this, right? It's more than the players on the field. The owner, man, it's right decisions. The owner, right. Had a strategy, made a right decision, hired the right guy in charge in Adam Peters. Adam Peters got a veteran coach who's not new to this, and they hit on the quarterback. It's just a chain of right decisions. And you want to look at the Dolphins' mistakes? It's that chain there. It's forget about who's on the field. It's before we get to the field or the decisions are not right. And I don't have confidence in any of these guys coming back because, again, you did the same thing. To expect this to be right, I don't know. Would you guys kind of agree with that whole philosophy there with the Redskins? I mean, do you see any parallel? What's exactly wrong with the Dolphins there? It kind of, to me, really magnifies what's been wrong with the Dolphins. I mean, Detroit as well. Either one of you.
Bobby, go.
Yeah, no, obviously. Washington got somewhat lucky too. I mean, they made a good hire. Dan Quinn's done this before.
Yeah.
He brought in good veterans. You draft Jaden Daniels, who's been phenomenal, like the best rookie year ever. So, obviously a lot of things fell right for them. So, hey, and that comes down to decisions, like you said, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you draft the right guy. A lot of people thought they should have took May. There was a lot of questions right there. So, yeah, they get a guy in. I think it's kind of funny, the reports coming back around this year about Ben Johnson last year. Yeah. Interviewing with them, and he went away like he was turned off by the ownership of Washington. He thought it was a bunch of basketball guys, and they were a little too arrogant for their knowledge of football, and he didn't really like it when he left there. So he declined and went back to Detroit, and they ended up with Dan Quinn, and whoever made the decisions, they ended up making good decisions. So it's funny to see how that all worked out for Washington.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's the same thing I always talk about with the hockey team down here, right? Kenny, the Panthers, right? You've probably been the owner had a strategy, hired the right general manager, and he made the right. We go over this over and over again, but it's just until they get to those decisions right. Unfortunately, you can't fire the owner. So, but that's the same old story of the Ferris wheel of mediocrity we're going in. All right, so everybody, guys, we're here live with Bobby Schaus from the Dive Bar podcast, Kenny 1896 Vice. This is our second attempt at the show. If you guys, I will put that in a blooper reel. Me not very decisive in the pocket and dealing with the blitz. I had no idea what was going on.
He crumbled.
I blame Tom Garfinkel. Okay, it's his fault. He shut us down.
It's Skylar Thompson in the pocket, man.
Yeah, that was Skyler-ish. That was Skyler-ish. That was Skyler-ish. All right. So now, do we want to go over this press conference? Do you want to go there? Boy. All right. So it was I'll give them credit. They went 37 minutes long, and I was very interested to hear what they had to say. I tweeted this out when it was over. I said, "Okay, we're screwed. Officially, we are screwed. No accountability, especially from Greer. A bunch of excuses. Coach McDaniel basically admitted there's a problem in the locker room. Basically admitted that he hasn't been a good leader and apparently they've been finding guys left and right. Bobby, you might know some of this stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. So and now he's, suspensions or I don't know what's going to happen, but basically saying the fines aren't working. We got to take this to the next level. This is unacceptable. Right. So let's start there with McDaniel. That first part of that. Second part of that is, can the ultimate player coach go to that from the ultimate disciplinarian? I just don't know, dude. I just don't. You can't change your personality. How does this work, Bobby?
Yeah, that's another one. It's just he's got to find that fine line of being like, I'm not your homeboy. I'm not your friend. I'm your coach, and that's tough. When you're a player's coach, that's who you are. When you're a disciplinary coach, that's who you are. It's like you said, it's hard to just change your whole personality for something, but you do got to stand your ground. I mean, you can't tolerate people that are not in line, that don't fall in line, that are not for the team or not for the thing. And the thing that gave me some hope, which it's bad because it does highlight the bad, but like Jordan Brooks and Jonnu Smith at the end of the season, their press conference was like, look, they basically throwing people under the bus too. Like, hey, there was a lot of people that did buy in, and there was a lot of people that didn't. And we need to get rid of those people. We need to do better. Like, so to me, that tells you that it wasn't everybody. Like, it wasn't like he lost the locker room. I don't think he did. I think there was a crossroads at one point that was kind of like, man, this is close. But that tells me there are guys that are bought in, and really Jordan Brooks, Jonnu Smith, guys that you want them to be bought in. If they're speaking like that, then you listen. So I think that, he's just got to figure it out. He's got to figure out where he stands in the locker room and who's in and who's out, and just not be afraid to cut ties with those people or move them or do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Before you go, Kenny, I want to jump in there with something Bobby said. Yeah, and that was apparently those comments that those guys made were apparently after the team meeting. So that was good to see that they bought into what Mike was saying. But unfortunately, I think some of their best players are the ones that are the problem. I mean, we won't name names here. Even a defensive back that Kenny really likes, that's really good, probably the best corner on the team. The wide receiver we know about, and a safety that probably won't be here. Some of their best players are probably part of the problem, but it doesn't seem like, if it's a cancer in the locker room, how can you get rid of all those guys? So, it's nice that Jonnu and Brooks, but are they the leaders of the team? Are they the top dogs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kenny, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not, promising that we're having these issues, especially this deep into Mike McDaniel's tenure. Yeah, man, it kind of sucks to hear players say that, but in a way, I don't think McDaniel has to completely, switch up his personality. I think he doesn't have to be the ultimate disciplinarian or anything. I think he just has to adjust a lot of things, whatever it is that they have to find, or not find, I guess, but how they discipline their players for not being on time for meetings, not giving effort, not being bought in. They got to find something, something's got to change. It's got to be the team over everybody, man. So even if it's your best players, man, I think they got to find a way to really balance it out. And really, I don't know it's really complicated when it's the stars, that they're doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if, OBJ was one. I wouldn't be surprised if Freak was one, or, Jalen Ramsey, whoever it is, even if it's a leader, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Holland. So however they figure it out, they gotta find a way. Whether it's letting them go or changing things up in that building, but something's got to change. Something's got to change.
Yeah, shout out to Jarvis. Jarvis, well, I working on something to have Jarvis on the podcast soon. Good dude. Robert,
Shout out.
morning for the UK. Thank you for joining us from the UK, brother. I'm glad you guys all missed the beginning of it. All right. You said, is there anything else from McDaniel part of the before we get to Greer? Because I thought the Greer stuff is what really upset me. Is there anything more that McDaniel said in that press conference or anything that stood out to you guys? I don't know if you guys watched the whole thing.
I don't know about stood out, but I'll say this just to make a point. I think we need to quit wishing and hoping that he's going to give up play calling. I think it's clear that like he's going down with that ship, and he doesn't believe anybody in the building is better than him at play calling, and he's not going to give anybody the play calling. I mean, that obviously is like that's reality now. So that we move on from that. And yeah, I think that's the only other thing I really took away from it is that he's not interested in that at all, in my opinion.
Yeah. He look, that's who Mike McDaniel. He was brought in here to be the offensive genius, play caller, play their side. He's not giving that up. The day he gives it up, it means they fired him.
Yeah.
To me, I never thought of the idea of having another guy come in and call plays. What's Mike here for? I mean, he made it very clear he's the guy here. All right, now the part. All right, where I threw my phone a couple times. All right, Chris Greer. Where do I start? All right, let's start with the offensive line. He mentioned Keon Smith
as a big loss.
As a big loss, and teams tried to trade for him. I almost lost my. I almost turned it off right there. This is the third. Wait, Bobby, Kenny. He's done this before.
Yeah.
Ethan Bonner, Michael Dieter. Who are you trying to sell? Keon Smith. All right. So that's that. Of the offensive line. So he backtracked on the comment of what was it? You guys are more worried about it than we are, or I am. Basically saying he was trying to give props to the 23 O-line, which, hey, they did run the ball well. They were they were top 6 or 7 in rushing offense, but you didn't bring that same O-line back. You lost your best offensive lineman besides Armstead, and you brought in Jack Driscoll. You didn't draft anybody for the interior. I don't know what they expect. Let's go with the O-line. Either one of you guys can start. Anything with the O-line and Greer's comments. I'm sure you guys love the Keon Smith shout out as well, as much as I did.
Yeah, I'll go. I think
Keon
it was
Smith.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like first of all, Keon Smith obviously was a letdown to even
shout out to Keon Smith, man.
Oh my gosh, but I think it was very responsible of them, especially like following the Isaiah Wynn injury. Why they didn't bring a contingency plan for that. I just don't know why they wouldn't put more resources in between like Liam and Robert Jones.
Yeah,
it's very baffling to me. I know he gave that excuse for what's it called, for Isaiah Wynn. I guess they're just trying to really make Liam work since they invested so much in him and in terms of like draft capital and stuff. So
that's it.
Yeah, so it's definitely frustrating, especially in like a talent like Robert Hunt not being there and helping AJ as well. Sucks that they had to commit like that to it. And then I give credit. He found Brewer. He played pretty well this season. He did what he had to do, and I like him going forward. But I think for me, my biggest issue with Greer and a big reason why he should have been fired was just the negligence of the interior, and the interior being just the 2 guards and the depth just behind it. I know Patrick Paul is an interesting piece moving forward as well. But the depth behind, I guess Kendall Lamb was also there, but the depth behind the guards just wasn't there either. So,
don't forget Andrew Meyer. Is it
Andrew Meyer? How could I forget Andrew Meyer? My bad.
Shout out to Andrew Meyer and Keon Smith, the reason why we didn't run the ball this year.
Yeah. Let me dust off my Andrew Meyer jersey. I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, before you jump in, Bobby. First of all, we relied on Isaiah Wynn. All right, the guy who misses more games than he does play. That's fascinating to me. Anyways, go ahead, Bobby. The Isaiah Wynn thing it's just, I'm mind blown by Chris Greer. I mean, I could sit here for an hour and a half and just talk about Chris Greer and break down every word he said in that press conference. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah. So, like, I come back to this a lot. Like you said, Aaron Brewer was a great move. He made several great moves this offseason. Mm-hmm. The problem, and people are like, why do you still want to fire Greer if you're like bragging about all these moves? I'm saying it's never been about what he done. It's always been about what he didn't do.
Yeah.
Look, when we broke down the needs heading into this draft, me and the boys, trying to get our heads around like where we need to head.
Yeah.
Dude, we got the same exact needs this year as we did last year. Every one of them, they're back. Yeah. And we have no safeties, zero safeties.
And do we have a left tackle you trust next year? I don't know.
I'll roll with Patrick Paul. It's not about trust. That's where he's got to be. He's a second-round pick, and he didn't play bad.
Yeah, I think his worst game was what, against the Browns?
His worst game was that last game. I mean,
the Browns
against Myles Garrett.
Yeah. I mean, that's Myles Garrett. Yeah, Patrick Paul, he's the guy, but like him only at left tackle concerns me. But
no, there's got to be more moves. We don't know where Kendall Lamb's going to be yet. He hasn't made his decision yet. He's just had a back surgery. He's trying to let things settle before he, makes a move. We'll see about Kendall Lamb coming back. Austin Jackson's going to be back. But yeah, like they completely ignored interior O-line. And I agree with Kenny. They definitely wanted their draft pick to work out with Liam. And hey, all right, I get that. It didn't. So let's see. And then they completely ignored backup quarterback. They completely ignored I'd say they completely ignored the defensive tackle spot too, because you lose Wilkins and replace him with Calais. That doesn't really improve that position at all. Yep. I think Jordan Brooks, they did add to the linebacker room. And it was crazy, like Kenny said, that David Long didn't work out. It just sometimes schemes just don't work for people. I was really excited to see David Long and Jordan Brooks. Me too. I give them a check for that one, though. I think they did something. They did enough to improve that room dramatically, in my opinion. And then they even brought in Tyrell Dotson down the road. So I think they did do a lot for the linebacker room. Poyer, I think, honestly, the more I look at it, I don't think it's a matter of. I think it's just Jordan. All-Pro Poyer is not All-Pro Poyer. He's 32 because the dude really was giving it his all. He throws his head in there like he ever did. He gets ran over.
Body broke down.
He's one step away from the interception. He's one step away from getting beat around the edge by a running back, and that's just what it is. I don't need to disrespect the guy.
Yeah, I agree.
He had one hell of a career. I really just believe that you gambled with the proven vet, and he was 1 year past his due date, and that's just it happens. Yeah. But nonetheless, it's a miss. And so I think that we just got to get, you just got, and it's not hard. Like you got like 11 picks right now. You might get 2 more comp picks depending on what happens with this whole
McKenzie.
Cycle. Yeah, McKenzie and all that. So you got 11 picks, and that's without maybe you trade down from 13, maybe you trade down from 48, and you can get more picks. But like, there's no reason not to spend 2 picks on O-line. There's no reason not to get a big, nasty defensive tackle. Yep. So like, there's no excuses. So like, as far as the draft goes, I do think we're going to be humbled a little bit on the spending and money. I think it's going to be a very humbling experience. Just a heads up on the free agency this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're in the bottom 3 in cap space. I mean, you can always create cap space. We know that, but it just pushing things down the book. But you mentioned backup quarterback, so that's the other thing Greer talked about. So apparently, Stephen Ross is aware we were second. We were second, guys, for a couple of prominent guys. I don't know who they are. I'm thinking could it be Andy Dalton because I know they had interest or whoever. But we didn't do it because of the compensatory picks and financial reasons. I'm surprised that a team that was supposedly competing for a championship would let a 4th, 5th round pick kind of hold you back on going for a quarterback. Did that surprise you guys, or do you think that was kind of another one of the excuse-making kind of things that Greer tried to do to make himself kind of to the public to kill that narrative that they didn't try for a better backup?
Yeah, I think it was like a little surprising that we I guess, came second. And just a lot of those negotiations with backup quarterbacks. I just look at like the Vikings, like trading for or I guess they signed. They didn't trade for, I don't think so. But they signed like Sam Darnold, not sure what his price point was, but I just look at that as an example because he came from the 49er system. I think he played for a bit. I know he played some snaps and he looked pretty decent, and it wasn't his fault that the ball wasn't moving. But yeah, I just, like you said, man, they're just excuses because at the end of the day, if you really wanted a backup quarterback, you would have been able to do it because you're competing for a championship, or at least that was the thought in the beginning of the year. And even then, I don't know, I just don't know how I don't know how you oversee Skylar Thompson not being it at quarterback, especially at QB2. I think that's my biggest frustration out of everything, like Skylar Thompson not developing in these years that he's been here. So I was surprised that they were in the market as allegedly as deep as he was, multiple quarterbacks that he was.
Good point.
But I'm not surprised that they didn't get one. I think I'm more frustrated about QB2 and Skylar Thompson.
And the reasons why they didn't get one.
Yeah.
And I think Mike would probably admit he made a mistake on the evaluation of Skylar.
Yeah.
Going with him too long. I mean, I think if you put some true serum, and we have Mike, he'd probably tell you, yeah, I screwed that one up. Bobby, what about you? Were you surprised at the reasoning? Or did you hear any rumblings that we were in on any of these guys? Maybe who some of these guys were?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, the way they talked about it, though, it'd make you think that they were swinging pretty heavy. I don't think we're talking like –
you're thinking
I don't think we're talking Tyler Huntley. Like, I think we're maybe it was Sam Darnold. Maybe Kyle Shanahan talked to it like, hey, look, in this scheme, that might be your guy. That might be a good backup. And look what he's done this year with another Shanahan guy. So I think he might have just said the quiet part out loud, honestly. I don't know if he probably should have said that we were scared to lose a comp pick. Yeah. But I'm not surprised either because Greer, I think that's his whole thing is like he has to like win he has to fleece any kind of move in his head for it to make sense for him. So I feel like for him to be like, that makes sense. He probably thought like, we're going to do the bare minimum. We're going to scrape through and we're going to come out with 2 comp picks.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, dude, we're not in position to be like playing games like that. Like,
I almost think he does that because he always likes to kick the can down and say, hey, Steve, Mr. Ross, we got 10 picks. Yeah, I'm always setting you up for every year. It's kind of almost his way of like not ever having it all or nothing, right? Even with the cap, it's almost kind of the guy is, I mean, he's special, bro. He's I don't know what he does, but he's got some skill. I don't know what he does in that office. He's like, I don't know if you guys ever worked in retail, but like those people or any job, there's some of these people in the office that they get in that ear and they're like, you come on like, oh, this guy got promoted. Wow. I really know how he works because I work with him on a day-to-day basis, but he got promoted. That's kind of reminds me of Chris Greer.
You got to start taking those trips to the boss's office, man.
Yeah, bro.
Put those knee pads on, dog. But anyways, what you just made a good point though. That's kind of why I thought they might change up because he kind of you said he never really got to a point where he went all in. I feel like he did. Like I feel like this year was it.
Yeah,
I feel like you're gonna give Greer another 11 picks to go again. I feel like you're almost giving him a second chance. Like it's the second turn for him to build this team.
Well, I think 2023, in my opinion, was the all-in year. I thought that was, in my opinion, that was the best team we've had in this rebuild. Despite everything with that we say about Sealer, it doesn't hurt to have Christian Wilkins next to him. I think they kind of went cheap in the linebacker market. Well, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think last year was the real, like all-in year, bringing in Jalen Ramsey and just the pieces that brought in the year before. I think it was really, all bust, Super Bowl or bust, especially with
that last year's team was set up financially where it was the last year of they would have the most talent on the roster because now we're paying. Yeah, you didn't have to pay Hunt. They were free agents. They were in the last year. Wilkins and plus Tua now on the big contract. Mm-hmm. But he also mentioned the backup quarterback position as we're talking about it, and he said they're going to turn over every rock, right? That includes the draft. I don't know. Him mentioning that out loud kind of makes me think they're not going in the draft that direction because I know they like the smoke screen stuff. Do you guys think it's going to be a veteran? I got a couple of names in mind that I like, and the draft or both. We'll start with you, Bobby.
First, I'll just get this one out of the way because I know no one's gonna like it, but it's reality.
Not Tyler
Dude,
Huntley.
I'm telling you right now.
Don't do it.
No, just don't sleep on Kirk Cousins.
Oh,
okay.
That's a new name. That's a new name.
Breaking news.
No.
I haven't even thought about that. Really.
Yeah, I seen a lot of Brown stuff with him.
I just think schematically that where he might be at this point in his career, that I could just see something like that working out. I think people discredit Kirk Cousins in that move way too fast. I feel like he had a bad year this year, and people were just like, Kirk Cousins, he's ass. Like he hasn't like produced, like he's not like the guy, but like Kirk Cousins has put up points. Like he's a bona fide proven quarterback. Like
100%.
So like I think, and he's played in this scheme, and I think he's built for this scheme. So I'm not gonna I think that could be a good, like, no one's seen coming vet move.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like in the third round, depending on when these guys are available, obviously their stock's going to change a lot. Dylan Gabriel, another left-handed, quick, decisive, accurate quarterback, someone like that. Jackson Dart, if you want to get a little more spicy, but he's still a question mark. But you're not going to get a guy in the first round, I don't think, by any means. So that's kind of out of the picture. And some of these guys going back to college kind of took that question out of there for me.
Yeah, I also like the kid out of Syracuse. He seems to fit perfect.
McCord?
McCord.
Kyle McCord,
before you go, Kay, let me ask you this. If Sanders fell to 13, would either of you guys consider that?
Who?
Sanders.
It's Shador.
If he fell to 13. Honestly, I don't think he's going to go as high as many people think he is.
I think he will go as high as people think because it's just how it works.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks get overdrafted every year because of how this works. So, yeah, somebody's getting desperate. Like the Browns just lost Deshaun Watson to back-to-back Achilles after paying him $230 million fully. Like they're going to be itching. No one's getting past the Raiders. So let me make that clear.
Oh yeah.
No, if
what
anybody,
6, 7?
I think 8.
8.
If anybody happens to slip at all, if the Raiders don't, they're going to get their guy in the coaching cycle. And if they don't trade up, I think the Raiders are a team to watch to trade up. If the Browns are willing to pass on quarterback and just load up, and maybe they even want to trade Myles Garrett. Maybe they realize this ain't it. We're not going to be it right now. We're going to have to restart.
Yeah.
If the Browns decide to pass on quarterback, I can see the Raiders, especially if they got like a Ben Johnson to go with Tom Brady, saying, Ben, please come here. We'll go do anything we got. We'll do whatever it takes to go get you your guy. You come here. We'll go get Shador. We'll go get whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want. So if no one's getting past 8, they might trade up. If they don't trade up, no one's getting past 8. That team, that's all they're really missing is a quarterback.
Yeah.
Do you think the Dolphins would pull the trigger, though, is what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, we didn't even get to that part.
No. I agree. The chance
you would have to consider it, though. You would have to. I don't like Shador, though.
Knowing this team, I don't either. But knowing this team, do you think they would do it? Do you think Chris Greer would pull the trigger?
No.
Will it buy him more time, maybe?
I don't think so. I don't think he would do it, realistically speaking.
I
just think there's too much. Like he's invested too much in Tua at this point.
Greer would try to do this. Was what Greer would do. He would try to capitalize off of somebody wanting him and trade back to 22 and try to just snowball picks. That's what he would do.
Yeah,
let somebody else make the hard decision.
Boy, the Patriots, man. If they would have been sitting at number 1, they could have got a ransom. Probably not the package that we got for Lance going up, but they obviously not going to take a quarterback. They could have moved down 2 or 3 spots and picked up at least an extra 1 or 2 or maybe even 2 ones. You never know. All right, anything in that press conference of Greer that we didn't talk about that kind of stood out to you? I'm trying to think of everything that he said.
The thing that pissed me off the most, it wasn't Keon Smith. It wasn't. We didn't want to get waste comp picks. It was when the reporter said, "Isn't it crazy how we're talking about this? It's like high school like people not showing up on time." And the reporter kind of
it threw me off. Bro.
The reporter kind of let him off the hook because he set him up to answer it like this. The reporter said something like, "Should the players hold other players more accountable or something?" Don't quote me on this, obviously. Yeah. And Chris Greer just went with it. He was like, yeah, it's pretty sad that this is a thing. Like, I do think that players got to do a better job of holding each other accountable. Like, dude, it starts with you, period.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I do expect if Jordan Brooks seen somebody show up late and knew that this was a pattern, to pull him to the side and be a leader and say, look, dude, that's not do better. I do understand that. Players also have a role. But for you to not acknowledge that everything starts with you, it's your job to dictate what goes on. You're the sheriff. So you cut people, you bring people in. If someone's not up to par with the culture that you've put in place, which is shit, by the way, clearly, you have to do something about it. Now, that just shows you that's another indictment on the culture. You're over there like, yeah, it's sad. The players really do got to do. Hell no. You got to do better. You got to do better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of steps before a player needs to step in. Like, that shouldn't even be he should have stopped it right there and said that. And he didn't. He went in. He was like, yeah, you're right. That's crazy. The players do need to hold each other to a higher standard. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. It was insane.
And they still – all this is going on, and they still brought him back. And you made a great point, I think, on your show. Shout out to that show with Jeff Darlington. Guys, check out the Dive Bar podcast.
Shout out.
Shout out. They had a great show with Jeff Darlington. Make sure you check that out and follow these guys. Yeah, they were kind of like indicting themselves the whole press conference. I'm thinking it's amazing how they were brought back after listening to them. It's not only do we have bad decisions, but we have a culture problem too, and we're openly admitting it. And you said it best on your show, dude. That was already planned. They sent that tweet out, that statement out. What, an hour after the game?
30 minutes, yeah, hour.
I was in shock. I was in shock for like 10 minutes reading it, like how quick it came out. I thought it was getting sent out. I was like, oh no, this is somebody just like Chat GPT or just produced it. I was like, oh no. And then I start reading it from the Miami Dolphins account. I'm like, oh wow. I was just in shock.
To touch on it, George, because I didn't really get to go into it on the show.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, dude, let's really think about this. They had this thing in the drafts.
Yes,
all day, and then proceeded to watch us get our ass kicked and quit at halftime. And then Tyreek Hill say he wants out of here, and then was like, And the intern was probably like at the desk, like, "Are we?
Send it in. Just send it in.
We're still send it?
Are we doing? Do we want to think about this here for a minute? Are we doing this?
Like, let's not even. They were gonna probably do it tomorrow. They were like, "Fuck it, let's do it right now."
No.
Don't let these fuckers sleep.
Man, it was so quick, ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I knew one way or another we were going to find out pretty quickly what was going to go down. Did you guys? I asked Jason Sarney. Shout out to Sarney who I had last week on. I asked him, did you guys think when the clocks hit 0 in Cleveland, was Greer coming back, or you thought I think it's going to be the same old thing?
I thought he was gone. I'll be honest. I thought he was gone. But then like as soon as it came out that they were both staying, I instantly thought of you, George. I was like, damn, he was right. Like not even now, just like a few weeks ago that when you said like you were like 70% sure he was staying.
I went from 95 to 70.
Yeah, I was still like, you know what? Like I don't know, man. But when I don't know, especially the way the Jets game just played out, I thought it was for sure, Jets or the Dolphins are gonna get rid of Greer. So I was in shock. I'll be honest. I was in shock that he stayed.
I was just hoping that it was enough. Like I didn't think we were ever. I'm not shocked that he's back. I'm just disappointed. So like to me, it was like I was already wanting him gone, and then that happened, and I was like, if there's ever a chance. And dude, they put that out an hour later. Like, forget about it. And I think I hate to keep going back to this, but it's really the best intel we got right now is Jeff Darlington. Like, dude, no one's more plugged in that locker room in that area than Jeff Darlington.
No doubt.
Dude, he's been best friends with McDaniel, or not best friends, but he's been around McDaniels on a personal level for over 15 years. And he was like, McDaniel's seat was never even warm. Like, not even like, no one even talked to, like, no one even considered, is it time to move? Like, it wasn't even brought up. But Greer, he thought at one point that he really could be on the chop. Like, Greer truly messed up enough and ignored the quarterback situation, the O-line, and did things to a point where Greer was a true topic. Like that was an actual conversation.
Yeah.
I just think, honestly, I think it comes down to the guy's like, what, 84? He doesn't want to do this again. And I heard he was haunted by the Dennis Hickey thing. He brought in Hickey. No, not seriously, because he brought in Hickey, and Hickey couldn't handle the job. And I think Chris.
He was smug.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Chris. He's not a horrible GM. He's capable of running the day-to-day business. I think that, and there's no. Finally, the coach and the GM are kind of on the same page, I think. But still, it's not good enough. Doesn't matter. I don't care if they're on the same page if we're winning 8 games with this team. So yeah, I agree. I told Kenny what I say, 95%. Then we heard the rumblings though.
Hey,
we heard the rumblings.
Is what got us.
Hey,
that's what got us.
Yeah.
Hey, that job
there are murmurs in league circles.
Yeah. We're like, oh, it's happening, guys.
I went 95-70 because you don't be hearing Chris Greer murmurs. Okay, there is no rumblings about Chris Greer ever, right?
And then in reality, it was more of.
Oh my gosh, yeah, man. That
was the actual murmurs going on.
Man, that day we get our butts kicked by the Jets. Tyreek basically does a Jimmy Butler, and then we find out Chris Greer's coming back. It's got to be one of the worst days in Dolphin history. I mean, just one gut punch after another, bro.
It really was truly depressing.
Dude. But
while we're on the topic, let's be honest, Tyreek probably made this being a fan of the Dolphins the most fun time we've ever had as a fan of the Dolphins.
100%, super.
And to see that, to see that it's that bad off, that the dude all year who played through a torn ligament in his wrist and said, I'm not complaining about getting the ball. I'm over that. I'm just trying to be a great teammate. Got to that point. It's just like, what else? What else you got for me?
Dude, because they're listen, it's like Jimmy Butler. These guys are not emotionally stable, man. They're off. You know what I mean? It's not a knock on Tyreek, but I mean, it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the most emotionally stable guy. And I do think some of that was the emotions after the press conference. But I'm going to tell you what, they're going to make a mistake. He's coming back probably. And you think, what happens when he's not getting the ball, Jalen Waddle's getting fed, or a new wide receiver they bring in, maybe whether they via the draft or free agency, or Malik Washington or whoever? You think this is going to go away? No, man. These guys are about me, all right? And that's not going away, because it looks like that's another thing they mentioned in the press conference while we're on that topic. It seems like it cleared it up with Tyreek. I don't know how much of this is true or not, but do you both guys, Kenny, we'll start with you. Do you guys now expect Tyreek back? It's hard to trade him, but I do think a team, a Baltimore, whoever, and maybe they eat some of the guaranteed money and they give you a lesser pick, kind of like with the Ryan Tannehill situation we did with Tennessee. I think there is a path to getting rid of him this year via trade. Maybe get a 4th-round pick back. Do you expect him back? Kenny, you go first. Percentage, Kenny. I'm putting you on the spot.
You know what? I actually prefer a percentage rather than black and white. So I'll probably give it. I want to say.
In this case, it might be easier.
So I want to say, just hearing the stories and everything about the locker room, I want to say it's like a 60 to 70% chance he's probably gone.
That ain't happening.
I know.
No. I'm talking about the comments.
This is me being more biased though, in the sense of I'm ready to. Hey, look, like how Bobby said, man, this has been one of the most entertaining football players I've ever seen in a Dolphins uniform. You know, it's been amazing to see what he's accomplished. But I also remember a lot of, the big games that he didn't show up for. And, hey, some players are not going to show up in big games. But it seems like almost every game he didn't show up. And now with these comments and the way everything's just, going down at the moment, I would prefer, like I said, trade him. Thank you for everything. I have nothing wrong or bad to say about Tyreek Hill. But if he wants to go, man, why are we stopping it? I know we got to eat some money even if we trade him. But why are we going to stop it? Especially when we have needs and, in other positions that are very important to the success of this team. And I'm excited. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see Waddle eat again. I feel like Waddle hasn't ate since Reek has been here. And I know Waddle can eat. Maybe not as to the standard of what Tyreek Hill does, but I know he could eat. He showed it his first season, second season as well. So I know I'm ready for that transition if it comes.
Waddle's got to stay healthy to get to the dinner table, man. That's been the problem.
Yeah.
I don't have a doubt he can eat. So what did you put the percentage that Tyreek's coming back, Kenny?
I got it at 60.
All right, we're gonna write that down. 60.
Oh no, excuse me.
60 that he's leaving.
Leaving, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby?
I'll go with I'll start off with this. I'll go with 60 that he's coming back.
Okay.
I'll probably go 65 that he's coming back. Trying to think about what I'm trying to think about.
Wait, hey, this is some Bobby stuff here.
No. I'm trying to think about what is fair to talk about because
this is some backroom Bobby stuff right here.
I'll say this: I've talked to a certain someone recently, right after this all happened, that wears number 10 for the Dolphins.
Oh my gosh!
And
look,
I'm not going to talk about what we talked about because I respect people too much for that. Like that's not how I roll. But I'll say this: I think, and he's got to do it the right way. He's got to figure out how that is. You know, if it's on the Dive Bar podcast, it's on the Dive Bar podcast. But you know, he's got to figure out how to make this thing right. I think that he was caught up in the moment. Apparently, like he wasn't supposed to talk to the media. He didn't want to talk to the media, but it happened anyways. He was full of emotion. You know, a whole year. Like they feel like we feel like this. Nothing's fun. Like. It's not fun to lose. That's one thing that I think people get twisted, and maybe for some people. When Tyreek came on the podcast last offseason, he said, when we lost to the fucking Chiefs, I punched my fucking locker. I was pissed. I hate losing, man. I don't care how much money you give me. I hate that shit. I'm never going to be okay with it. And that just came into reality. This year, we lost. Things weren't well, and he was pissed. You know, he played a whole season through pain and a torn ligament for what? Nothing really at the end of the day, nothing. So, you know, I'm not saying it's okay. He absolutely handled it wrong. That's something I wish could have happened on exit interviews in Chris Greer's locker or Chris Greer's locker. He needs a fucking locker. He don't deserve it. Chris Greer's office. You know, I feel like that's a talk that should have happened in an office 2 days later. And it's probably a different talk. Like they had a talk 2 days later and it was after all this. And apparently it was positive. And it was good. So I think he realizes he messed up. He wants to win. His emotions got to him. He acted harsh. And I think he realizes that. Now he's got to come back. A lot of people are pissed. I ain't gonna lie. I was surprised by how fast. Dude, people turned on Tyreek quick. Yeah. And hey, understandably, what he did was wrong. It was wrong. So he's got to figure out how he needs to approach the fan base and how he needs to handle this. Right now, Drew's doing the talking for him, and that's pissing people off more. But, I mean, hey, we've seen him doing the talking. It probably ain't the best idea right now. He needs things do need to settle a little bit. I know that we want to hear, why ain't you telling us? It's like, this doesn't work like that. Look what happened when he did tell us. Like, let things calm down a little bit. And you never know. You might get that apology. You might get a sit down and break it all down for you and tell you where his heart's at and where he was.
Can I add quickly though? That the reason why I feel like it's hey, look, you know, Bobby, he probably knows a lot more than I do. But the reason why I have like a lot of hesitation is because I was watching the Pat McAfee show. I forget his agent's name. It's blanking me. That he
Drew Rosenhaus.
He represents like all the Dolphins players. I think they asked him straight up, like, is Reed coming back? And I remember Drew Rosenhaus just giving a lot of pause because he has to talk to Reed first. And that's what gives me a lot more like, okay, like this really isn't clear. And he really is going to weigh his options. And he's probably, like I said, I have nothing bad to say about Reed. If I was the GM, I would put resources in a different place. But like I said, man, he's been the most entertaining player I've ever seen. The comments were, I didn't like the comments, but everybody's frustrated after the way the season goes. So, I just wanted to add that. That goes into my percentage in case I'm wrong. All right, that goes into my percentage.
so Armando got 80%.
Well, what really made the Drew Rosenhaus Pat McAfee segment crazy was he opened a statement, broke everything down, and ended it with, Tyreek is committed to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They just got to figure this out. And then at the end of it, so they're like, so you're saying Tyreek's back? And he was like, Well, hold
Oh
on
yeah, yeah.
now.
Whoa.
I didn't say that. I mean, we gotta talk. We gotta talk now.
Hey,
So
man.
it was
Good
funny to me,
businessman. Good
but
businessman.
yeah, you'll get that. You'll get that with the agent. And like I said, right now you're not. I don't think there needs to be a black and white answer right now.
Yeah,
I really do think people need to go home to their families, chill,
figure it out.
take the kids to Disney, do whatever, because like the conversation is just probably not ready to be had yet. There's a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions. I mean, look, I think part of it too is this Tyreek's first time? He didn't have a good season to his standards. They didn't make the playoffs. He's watching other teams get in the playoffs. But what is I don't know if you guys caught. I caught that clip that with when Waddle's asking, "Hey, Reek, are you out? Did you see it?" I was watching with my brother. I said, "Hey, did you hear that?" I heard it because for some reason that game, the audio was catching a lot of things from the sidelines in that game.
Was empty.
It was. Yeah, probably so. And I caught that, but I thought, oh, he's hurt, or maybe the coach just says, "Hey, you're going to the injury. We're not winning this game. Denver is already up." But apparently, he took himself out, which leads to my next point here: is do you think this has some sort of reason why we talk about the firings? We all knew Danny Crossman should have been fired 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Welker getting the axe. That surprised me. I don't know if it surprised you guys, but I heard maybe it was a clashing of coaching styles, something like that. The players, I don't know if they like the way Welker was coaching. Do you think any of this stuff is related? Welker leaving. I mean, Tyreek, quitting in the game essentially. We'll start with you, Bobby. Have you heard anything about the Welker thing?
I've heard a lot. So
what can you tell us?
Yeah. No, so like not in a good way either, because it's like I've heard everything. So like I've heard the bad, the good. So like I can't really tell you where I stand on it because there's so many angles. There's like there was no room for growth in Miami, so they're doing him a favor by letting him off. And then there's he's tied into the wide receiver room and he couldn't get guys to show up on time, and he was being their boy over their coach, and he's part of that old Once again, though, you'll hear all this stuff when things go wrong. Everybody's looking for anybody to blame right now, but I thought Welker was doing a good job. I will say that the drops have only gotten worse since he's been here. No one's developed in the receiver room. His big story when he first came here was he pounded the table for Eazy-E.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He went to Texas Tech and said, we got to get this kid. And look, I'm all for Eazy-E developing, but he hasn't developed. And that was your guy you've seen the vision for. We haven't seen the vision.
Yeah.
So it's clearly there. I can tell you that's on. Everybody can agree with that.
Yeah.
That was a poor valuation on his part.
Yeah.
Also, I think, we've seen some mic'd up and stuff. We don't really know what he was doing every day, where he looked like he was doing his job. He looked awesome. He was always hands-on, running routes with the guys. But we don't we don't know. So I don't want to speak on Wes Welker. It surprised me. I didn't see that coming at all.
Me neither.
But they had to make a move. So
yeah, I was surprised by it, but I guess not surprised. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that will come to light after this is over, right? When the coaching staffs go, it's like the Jimmy Butler stuff. All of a sudden now, you're seeing all this stuff come to light. Hey, Kenny, by the way, what's your percentage Jimmy Butler gets traded before the tape? I know I'm a Heat guy too.
Yeah, he's gone, man. He's gone. I think he's gone. They might figure it out, but I think Pat Riley is not the type of guy, once he makes a decision, I don't think he kind of takes it back. So I think he's probably gone. I think he's shown it, man. If Wade left the city, Jimmy Butler could leave the city, So
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, let me get my percentage out there for if Hill's coming back. 85% coming back, bro. Coming back. Now let me ask you this. Hey, let's talk a world. As much as I'm getting on Hill, and I am the one who said, could this have the beginning of the end been on the rebuild of getting Tyreek Hill? Because it was all flashy and stuff, but it's a lot like empty calories, bro. You know what I mean? Like where was the substance? It's the same 9, 10, 8-win stuff. So that's another subject. We've already gone through that. But what does the offense look like without Tyreek Hill? There's no gravity puller now. That'd be interesting. I mean, do you think the Dolphins want him back? or they want to move on, get the money off the books. Another thing is if he's coming back. Do you think they really want him back? Or do they want to kind of go a different direction, more maybe size in that room and get that money off the books invested on a couple free agents, maybe on the O-line? Bobby?
Well,
so it's a big question,
Yeah, we broke that down kind of. I mean, look, if he realizes he made a mistake and he wants to be here, you're going to find out if the Dolphins want him or not. That's all it's going to come down to. Are the Dolphins willing to move on from that? Are the Dolphins willing to forgive that and keep that in the locker room? That's the question. And we don't know. So I guess we'll figure it out this offseason. But I think part of me is excited about a future after Tyreek. That doesn't mean because of this award deal. I've always looked forward to Waddle being the man again. I mean, his rookie year, he was, the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
Like 104 catches, just going crazy every week. So
I'm best on steroids.
Yeah, I love the idea of life after Tyreek, and not in a bad way, just in general. I think that also would make them pivot. Like you're saying, there's no gravity pullers, so you got to create stuff. So I think that would make them come back to earth, build from the core. Okay, we don't have cheat codes everywhere now. Let's come back to earth. Let's build an O-line. Let's have a respectable run game. And then we can lay. And also give a guy, whoever's at quarterback, more than 2 seconds, and Waddle can get open. Guys can get open. I mean, I fully believe that. So, and we've never seen that. We've never got to see that. We've had the 2 fastest guys in the league for 3 years now, and we've never seen them be able to play outside of 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kenny, I don't know if you have any add-on to that, but I'll go real quick here. It's like, that's an interesting point you make, because I got my man crush at number 13, the wide receiver at it. Here we go. Hey.
Another receiver? Come on.
Hey. The other kid out of Arizona.
He gone.
If you squint, you see Mike Evans there. If you squint, you see Mike Evans. All right? I'm telling you, he's a dog. And
no, I like him. He won't be there.
You don't know that. Let's move up 13 to 9. You know what I mean? Even though I don't want to move up in this draft, but I'm saying we talk about physicality. Wait, walk with me here, guys. Walk with me.
Walk with me.
We talk about physicality, but also the wide receiver position needs some physicality to it. Look at the success he's had with Jonnu.
Yeah.
I think Tua's proved he doesn't need this theory that he needs the fastest guys in the world. He proved it with Jonnu that he can connect. Maybe it's not 30, 40 yard passes, but he can connect with the big physical. I love this kid. In this kind of draft, I don't think there's a lot of blue chip prospects. You know what I mean? I think he's one of them. And at 13, that's where I come out of this. I don't love this draft by no means, and I got some things in the work on some draft shows, and we'll get more into that. But at 13, you guys would not consider it if he fell to 13?
No, absolutely. Like,
Kenny.
if we're at 13, like, come on. I get that. That's like when CeeDee Lamb almost fell to us.
Yeah. Like I get it. I don't think he's gonna fall. First of all,
no, Kenny, are you taking him if he falls? Because it seems like you're against it.
I'm not. I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to say I'm not taking a receiver, man. Give me those big boys, man.
Right.
I want them to be eating 4 steaks for lunch.
Here's what you're gonna do. And here's the problem with that. You're gonna overdraft again a position when you can get a guard in the second and third round easy. You can draft 2 guards. That's why the more I look at this draft, I'm taking the best player available at 13.
Here's the beautiful thing about the draft is that we still have a free agency way ahead of the draft. So, look, if we went out and got, let's say in a dream world, they went out and got 2 starting guards.
I got my 2 guys.
Let's say they went out and truly went all in. They readjusted to his deal. They got crazy cap space again. Like, let's say we got $40 million, and they go get a Trey Smith. Okay. Now the guy that would never draft a receiver at 13 is like, I get it. I'm open to it now. So we need to see what they can do with their money first, because that's going to tell you what holes are. That's going to tell you what holes are left. So right now it sounds crazy to even think about a receiver.
Yeah.
But if you go and sign Trey Smith, and now in a respectable defensive tackle, now we're over here like, how can we get spicy?
Right. Yeah. I agree with all you guys, but I think the biggest mistake any franchise makes is when you reach because you desperately need that position, especially on the interior of the offensive line. And you don't know how the board falls. Now, I think there's going to be some, again, we got plenty of time for the draft. Free agency hasn't even happened yet, but there could be some defensive tackles. Safety, is safe because I know Greer usually hits on the safety position. Everybody's talking about Malachi Starks from Georgia, but I know
Watt second round, baby. Come on.
That was not a great game for him. That last
he's in the championship, bud. Calm down. Settle down. He's in the championship.
So you're pounding the table for Watts round 2.
My dad is a huge Notre Dame fan, so naturally I gravitate towards Notre Dame. But no, I like Watts a lot. I really do.
I do too.
I like Malachi Starks too. Malachi Starks at 13 is like a dream scenario.
Yeah.
It's like almost like another Minka scenario.
Yeah, it's like Malachi sitting there at 13. He might be BPA, truly BPA. And
it's a position Greer loves because it's
huge need. And you just plug him right in there, and you never got to think about that for 5 years.
Because here's the thing. If you're taking an offensive lineman at 13, you're taking a tackle and moving him to guard. You're not taking a guard at 13. You're not taking the Booker kid out of Alabama. You can get guards like we do with Robert Hunt. And Greer mentioned that with Hunt, with Solomon Kinley. You kind of got an idea maybe what he's thinking. But you mentioned the free agency. Let me give you a couple names on the offensive line.
Let's go.
Thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat or whatever. Hey, everybody hit that subscribe button. Hit it. I need it. I need the subscribe button. Also, Dive Bar Podcast, make sure you subscribe to that. And as soon as Kenny gets his channel, subscribe to Kenny's channel. But in the meantime, follow him on X. But a couple guys. Mekhi Becton, moving him inside. You want physicality? You can't get much more physical than that. Thumbs?
I would lean thumbs down, bro. I'll be honest.
Look, he had a year with Philly. If anybody can fix him, it's Philly.
And they moved him inside.
I wouldn't be mad. Bobby. I wouldn't be mad about it, but that can't be it. I'm cool with taking a flyer on him, but I need a true answer too.
Yeah. It's similar to the Isaiah Wynn situation, in my opinion, with Mekhi Becton. But I liked Isaiah Wynn more as a guard, though, than Mekhi Becton.
Becton this year he's really revitalized his career moving inside. Now it's a 1 year wonder thing, kind of like what concerns me? The Eric Flowers kind of reminds me of that situation. Remember, Eric was a high pick, moved him inside, had that one good year in Washington. We brought him over for I think it was $10 million a year. I'll give you another name, Tavon Jenkins from the Bears. Yes or no?
No.
That's the guy we all wanted in the draft.
Yeah.
Once again, it's the same as Becton, which is funny. These high-profile guys are now
I like to take chances on those guys, though.
I like all of this if they're a flyer, but I need that 100%. Dude. So, I need Trey Smith and Becton, Trey Smith and
you get Trey Smith, though.
I don't know. I mean, that's my point.
I see what you mean.
I need Banks at 13 and Becton.
Yeah.
Or Will Campbell at 13 and Becton. Is what
Correct.
I'm saying.
100. That's my philosophy as well. You can't be, putting all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, we can't be we signed Becton.
I'll tell you a guy to keep an eye on is Aaron Banks from the 49ers.
I think 100%.
So he's a free agent. I like going that, and Greer does too. That 26, 27-year-old getting out of their first their draft after that 4-year deal fee. Those are kind of guys you want to look at what Greer's going to do. And you said, and Bobby said yourself that it's going to be a humbling free agency here. You got to kind of look for the Jordan Brooks, stuff like that on the offensive line. Aaron Brewer, these guys who just coming off their rookie deals on that second contract. You let the other teams develop them, then you take the shot at them once they're already developed. And these are a couple of guys I think that the arrow's going up on. Another guy I like on the nose tackle is DJ Jones, but we can have these the off-season shows. Anyways, let's end it on here. We've been going about an hour and 13 minutes. Playoffs. I think we saw what the problem with the Dolphins is. You saw the running game and physical teams win. No surprises. Kind of a boring weekend. The Commanders game was pretty good in the Bucs. Anything that stood out to you and who you guys like going forward here in the playoffs? I'll start with you, Kenny.
I'll just say this: obviously, I won't root for a team, but I'm definitely rooting for Lamar. Just being down here from South Florida, I've always rooted for him ever since he was coming out of high school. You knew the talent, and a lot of teams wanted him like a receiver. And just the fact, I love a player that kind of stands on, he commits to what he wants to do. He knows what he wants to do, and actually flourishes where he is. Even coming out of the draft, nobody really wanted him at quarterback. But that being said, I'm biased. I just really want to see him, get over the hump and win something, especially with that team that they have now. It looks incredible. So So yeah, like I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson, not the Ravens, just so we're clear. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels looks great. Like he looked great. He's dropping dimes, decisive when he wants to run the ball. Pretty surprised that Tampa went out though. I thought Tampa, especially early in that game, I thought they would kind of pull it out. But I know they had like that botched, running player.
Bucky Irvin.
Yeah, and then that fumble. So it was weird to see, but yeah, even then I think Detroit, is gonna kind of sweep the NFC. Well, let's see what happens with the Vikings and the Rams, though. I like the Rams. I like that Rams. That defense is feisty. Yeah.
I don't know. They're playing now. I don't even know the score, but I do know this. I think we're seeing that, and you might see in this game. I don't even know the score, but like the quarterback, when your quarterback's just kind of mid, even though Baker's good, there's a ceiling there. He gets hit. I always say, and that might happen with Darnold in this game, and they might be blowing them out. I don't know, but I think you might see that with the Rams game.
Rams are up 7-0, driving on.
There you go. There you go. I think that's the problem. You're seeing it all over the league. Oh, we had a great regular season, and it comes time to the playoffs, things shrink, and then guess what happens? Your man, 7-0 Rams. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Super Bowl prediction. Right now, you guys. This is a hard one because this is just started. Super Bowl prediction, Kenny.
I got because I don't want to see the Bills do anything. I got the Ravens, and I got the Lions. I think they beat the Chiefs this year, the Ravens.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Interesting. Bobby?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it's got to Lions.
I almost want to see Josh Allen, though. I don't know. I'm torn by it, bro.
It's somewhat it's like, let's go ahead and fall on the sword and get it out of the way. But so the Lions, I'm going for the Lions in general because, man, they're like us. They've been cursed for so long. Somebody's got to break the chains. So let's get somebody in there new. I'm going I think the Lions is like every Dolphins fan's second team almost. We kind of root for them. But so I'm going for the Lions over there. The Chiefs don't look great this year, but it's like, man, it's the Chiefs.
They always do it.
They're going to show up next week and like hit that next level, and it's going to be like, oh, it's the Chiefs.
What was the record? It's crazy. I look out the I was like, what did they finish? 15-2 or something like that?
15-1. Oh yeah, 15-2.
They lost, and that was a game they would have won probably if they meant something.
Yeah, so man, the AFC is the question. I think the Eagles might shock, but I don't know. The Eagles don't impress me that much, honestly.
Yeah,
I think the Lions, and it's amazing what they're doing with all the players they have out, but the Lions make a run in the NFC, they're just on fire. And then the AFC is the real question. The Ravens and Bills is going to be incredible Sunday night. That's going to be like, dude, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, that's a great
And
game.
then the Chiefs should handle Houston, but they played great. They're playing great. So the AFC Championship, dude, it's going to be like 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah, it really is.
So your prediction, you had to guess who's in.
Yeah, I tried to just do all that talking to avoid that.
Oh,
okay. You didn't let it happen.
Hey,
politics.
Hey, Chris Greer is the only one. Is not the only one without conviction in that building.
Dude, I just told you that. Like honestly, the AFC is like so up for grabs.
Yeah,
like
Bills and Ravens. Bills between Bills, Ravens, Chiefs. Either all 3 of them. It wouldn't surprise me. I think the Lions in the NFC. Honestly, I would like the Bills Lions. I would like to see. Look, I know he's our rival, but dude, the guy, he's special, man. I mean, special. All right,
I put a tweet out the other day. I said we don't want to hear this, but the Bills
that dude, bro.
Like they're there. So prepare yourself.
All right, before we go, we didn't get to this question from Armando. Opinion on drafting a quarterback to learn McDaniel's system, only to get set back due to McDaniel's firing. Okay, so you're saying let's see how this year plays out. In the quarterback class is better in 26. Maybe I agree. I would take one still though in the 4th round. It's not going to kill your capital or you're investing so much. Get one in the system. It doesn't hold you from drafting one high again in 26. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I agree.
I think the one somebody made this point and I go, you know what? That kind of just makes sense. I kind of think that I'm just going to tell you the point I heard more than tell you what I think. That they're all, like you said earlier, they're all tied together. So, like, you could go get an awesome backup, but if Tua fails again, they all fail.
True.
Yeah. So, I kind of think they might pivot after hearing this to just going all in on building the roster and not wasting the assets because they need to get the team right. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out anyways. So there's no reason to have that quarterback in the building. Kind of like he's saying, you go and draft that quarterback and then Tua gets hurt week 3, everything falls apart. Why did you draft the quarterback? Just go get a guard. So I think hearing that made me think they might just keep Huntley in as QB2. They put Tua on ice and they're gonna roll. I'm not saying
There's no way they can do that, bro.
That's a great point, though. That's a great point.
I know it's a great point, but they cannot do. I don't think there's any way in that world they can live in.
I love that George is sitting over there telling me that they cannot do that with conviction, like he didn't watch the copy and paste Dolphins for 6 years. They cannot run it back. There's no way they run it back.
We're not running it back.
Oh man,
I love this fan base, man. We're psychos, man. I love it.
No, but I mean, I just think, the narrative that would bring. I don't know that. Okay, so maybe that goes to my point. Draft one in the 4th round, 3rd round. You're not using so much capital there. It's not a great draft, but there's some middle round guys. We mentioned you mentioned some, the Gabriel kid at Oregon, McCord. I wouldn't mind Jalen Milroe. Let's bring some. We need some juice, man. And I think McDaniel's kind of infatuated. Huntley, he wanted an athletic quarterback. So, and I've seen people say, "Oh, what about Fields?" I don't know if they do that, but I'd be intrigued by that. I don't know about you guys.
Intrigued.
Yeah, I think intrigue's the right word.
I think that as much as and I was excited about it too, having an athletic quarterback was cool. I think you got to realize the gap in running this system cannot be filled with athleticism. So I feel like they need to understand that you can try that route, but you've seen what it does. The whole playbook changes. You're limited, everything. I think the best way you go get somebody, and that's why I say Kirk Cousins. Yep. You can put Kirk Cousins in the game, and he literally can run the whole playbook.
Yeah, that's one. I hadn't thought about it till you brought it up, but as I think about it, the more I like it. Like that's one where you can survive there. You know what I mean? That's one where you're. That's a really good. I mean, Bobby, that is a really good.
I didn't even
think of that as an option. But when you think about it, it makes sense. He kills the narrative. Perfect fit. He's back up. Tua is your starter. Like you said, if Tua gets hurt again, but the only way they're saving grace, he gets hurt, and they have somebody who can kind of get them to 11, 12, 13 wins and get in the playoffs. Then they keep their job. So, anyways,
I think if you had Kirk Cousins playing the Colts, Seahawks, and whatever this year, we probably win those games.
Yeah, 100%.
Tua didn't play against the Titans, right? It was Huntley.
Yeah.
It was Skyler.
Skyler.
Because I keep thinking about the game. I was at the game the previous year, and we lose to the Titans because the Titans are a lot of things, but they're pretty physical and good up front. So I think that's probably why we always lose to the Titans. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the show. Thank everybody in the chat. We had a rough start, but the show is ending pretty good. It was a fun show. Before we get out, Kenny, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you at.
Magic City Dawn on X. Just follow me if you want to laugh for a bit.
There you go. Magic City Dawn. Hit that follow button. And, of course, Bobby with the Dive Bar podcast. Check out the Jeff Darlington show. I know these guys got big things coming. Bobby, what can you tease us with?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. I've been – the season's ended, and this is the off season, but it's our end season.
Yeah. And,
man, I've started making the rounds and reaching out to some people, and, man, people are down. I got some big names. It's got to all, we got to obviously book people and scheduling and everything. But, man, I highly recommend coming over to the Dive Bar because it's going to be incredible all season. I've already talked to a few players, some that haven't had on yet, but at the same tier of some of the big names we had last year. Some former players, and man, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, it really is. I really can't believe it.
If you guys get so big and you only do the top-notch players, you can throw some of these, special teamers and backups. Throw them over here to the Finn's Faithful podcast as a friend of yours. We don't need the stars. We can take because I see the Dive Bar getting there. You guys, I'm very proud of your work, Bobby, and what you've done. It's impressive, man. Yeah. And you've kind of set the standard, and I enjoy. I enjoy having you on as always. And Kenny, you guys, not only friends of the program, but friends of mine. So as always, guys, follow them, follow the Dive Bar, follow Kenny, Follow us if you can, if you like this disaster of a program. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, guys, stay Fins faithful. We're out.